Hi everyone. Today is my day 6, I believe. Today's day 6 is my rebellion. Let's just call it that. It was the time after I told my mom about what happened to me and between my stepfather and I, and then during the time that we were in poverty, we were living in poverty, and we were jumping back from mission to mission, and we were dumpster diving for our food and clothing and our school essentials, because we only went shopping like once a year at the very beginning of the school year, and my grandmother would put our school stuff on layaway, so we only shopped once a year, and if we grew out of it. So it was the time afterwards. So I was telling you about the poverty the other day, and then and the way that we survived. So today I wanted to tell you about what I did to rebel against the hand that was dealt to me. And it wasn't just because we were poor, but also because of I rebelled against everything that had happened to me, because I wanted to have a voice in any way, in some way, and I wanted to be in control of something. So this was something that I used to control my situation, because no one knew about it. And it was just the secret that I had, and it was actually a secret that I didn't tell anyone for a very, 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 very long time. I think the very first person that I talked to about this was my best friend, whom I had stole from a child, but I actually had spoken to her to apologize for what I had done. This was about 3 years ago. So no one even knew about it. And then after I spoke to her about it and apologized and told her what happened, because they had no idea. And after that, I had talked to my mom about it. So I started to open up about it, and then I started to think more about it. And then I kind of realized the reasons why I did it. It was just my way of voicing out some sort of like determination, like I'm not going down, I'm not going to be poor. I mean, as a child, there was no way for me to make money at that time, but I could take this into my own hands. It was wrong, and I know that, I probably did something. I did a lot of damage to stores. I guess I took clothes and stuff and other things. A big expense. Man, now that I think about it, it's pretty bad. So where it all started was with my best friend, and that's why I needed to apologize for what I had done. But I spent so much time with this one particular friend, and it started here because the way that they grew up. She was adopted, and her older sister was adopted as well, into an awesome family, a single mom, and I was jealous. I was jealous that they were spoiled beyond, and they had money, and she could get whatever she wanted, let alone what she needed. And I didn't have that opportunity. I couldn't even get the things that I needed. And I was always with this friend, and I spent so much time with them that I was part of the family, and they brought me in, and they treated me as one of their own, and I am so grateful to that. But I took advantage of that. I took advantage of that part of it. But what I saw hurt me. I saw my best friend take advantage of her situation, and she was ungrateful for the hand that she was dealt, and she was spoiled, and I took that as an insult. And I took it personal, so personal that I had actually started to steal from her first. And then it ended up being her sister. Because I just remember, like, I needed clothes and we used to go into her room and borrow things. But I would take that opportunity late at night to go into her room and take things and hide it away in my bag and take that home, because her sister wouldn't have even really noticed. She would have assumed that her sister took the clothes, and she always did. But her closet was just lined beautifully, color-coded, and by category, tank tops, sleeved shirts, shorts, skirts, pants. It was just beautiful color. It was like a rainbow looking in there, and I was like mesmerized by it. So I rummaged through her stuff late at night and I would take it. And I liked that adrenaline rush, and I kind of thought I was doing her a favor. She'd go out and she'd shop and get more clothes anyways, and they had the money and I needed the clothes. So it was just something that was going on in my head. So I kind of took advantage of the situation that I was in, because I felt insulted by them, and I loved them, but in this area I felt like they were ungrateful and they weren't thankful for anything. And I had oftentimes saw my friend throw like tantrums because her mom bought her the wrong color top, and she would just everything was just everywhere. So there was no sort of organization in her room, and anywhere that she had walked, there was no organization. It was not clean. So even when she bought something, she would never know where it is. She would buy it, and kind of like hoarding, I guess. She would kind of hoard the things, but it would just be tossed somewhere. So she never even noticed when things went missing. So I took advantage of that. And like I said, we've spoken since then, and I've apologized and expressed this to her, because no one ever knew what I had been doing. But it was something that was going on internally with me, because I was living in poverty, and that was my way of speaking out against this sort of injustice. I don't really know how to explain that part, but it was just my way, which is wrong. But this is where my stealing had began, and I started walking into clothing stores with baggy clothes. And back then, during this time when I was a teenager, I was a preteen. I wasn't even a teenager yet. I was a preteen. They didn't have those little those clips. I'm not really sure what they're called. Those they're not protectors either, but the ink thing that they clip onto the shirts. They didn't have those on there during that time. I don't even think they had them invented yet, but I used to walk in, pick out my clothes, take them to the changing rooms, and I would put them on, and then put my regular clothes over them, so when I wore my baggy clothes you couldn't even tell. And I would come out with layers and layers and layers of unpurchased clothes. And I do this a few times a week, wherever maybe not every week, but I would do it a few times, and I would kind of move on to a different store to make sure that I didn't get caught, and no one, would get suspicious. But I had developed something that I was good at. I used how I looked, the innocence, to steal. So that's what I had learned, was that I looked so sweet and honest and fragile, that no one had ever suspected that from me, this small little girl. So I used that, and I got away with it. And over the years, I guess the reason why, and I don't think I really explained that yet, but the reason why I did this was when I was in school, I was bullied for being poor, which is horrible. I wanted to blend in. I didn't want to be made fun of. I didn't want to be humiliated anymore. And it was so difficult to walk into school and know that everyone knew that I was poor. And as a child, there isn't anything that you can do about the hand that was dealt to you in this way. Like, you're a child, you can't just, come upon money to buy clothes, to look the part. So, I'm trying to find out where I am here on my... I had started writing something I didn't want to accept the hand, and I wanted to blend in, and I kind of mocked other people. I didn't want other people to know that I was broken, so that's why I had never expressed my feelings as well. I had never said to anyone, even my best friends, what had happened, and it was hard. It was hard living in my world. I remember my mom coming into my room asking me where I got, this or that, or this, that. So I would always say, oh, it's from, my best friend. And, you know how her mom always, likes to buy me stuff. And so I was really good at lying at that time too, and making sure that no one ever found out what happened or what I was doing. But I remember when I was even in middle school. Middle school. That's when I was walking into stores. But my freshman year, I felt most out of place, and I didn't want to be bullied, because freshman year, I was a tomboy, and everyone had bullied me during middle school and during freshman year, and they used to call me like Barbie doll and things like that. But I mean, to me, it was an insult, because they're just looking at, skinny mini, at the time that's what I was. And they used to throw things at me and call me this. And that was freshman year. But what was the point of that? Freshman year, I joined the basketball team. And no, actually that was sophomore year. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to freshman year. So freshman year, I tried to blend in, and I had a few friends, and that was when I got introduced to alcohol. And that was like my very first time ever drinking, was with my friend and her older sister. And I think we had like a party, and I remember like I was telling my friend that, we were actually poor, and it really sucks to be bullied. It really sucks to be bullied just because you're poor, because it's not the child's fault. And just that sort of pain that you get from the world just because of the situation. It's hard. It's hard to bear as a child. And I remember my friend was telling me that I could, borrow her clothes anytime she wanted. And I thought that was really awesome. But I remember I had stolen something from her too. It was just this habit that I had, because she had nice clothes, man, and I didn't have that. So like I remember like she had let me borrow some things, and I only think I stole like one thing from her now that I think of it, but because she was so kind. It was just knowing that she had a bunch of stuff that I didn't have. So, when I was a kid, the grass was always greener on the other side, and I couldn't get over that when I was a kid. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's considered, I don't know. No, I wasn't like a klepto. It wasn't anything like that. It was kind of like robbing the rich and giving to the poor. That's kind of how my mind frame was I was poor and you could do without. You wouldn't even notice it. So that's kind of how I was taking it. And so my sophomore year, I remember my sophomore year, I was at Tombstone High School, actually. I'd already moved in with my dad, and I still had this mind frame, and I couldn't come out of it right away, but I still had this mind frame because my father also didn't let me go shopping a lot, even though he had the money. So he was conservative and and strict, but he also didn't like to waste money, and he only liked to waste money on certain things. And we used to go to the thrift store and buy clothes, so I was still sort of like really, I deserve more kind of thing, that sort of. So I still was in this this area where I still felt like I was poor, and it wasn't fair to me. So there were a few times where in school I would steal stuff. So when I was at Tombstone, oh my gosh, during basketball practice, when everyone was out, I would go into the rummage through lockers, and I would take other girls' stuff, and it was all the ones that were preppy and the most popular, and it was like this act of revenge, because I was just this like fragile little girl. So I did that, and then I wasn't paying attention this one time, but I ended up wearing a pair of shoes that I stole, and one of the girls noticed they were her shoes. So I got made fun of for a little bit, and I ended up quitting the basketball team because of it, and because I was humiliated, but it was my fault. So I know. And then I remember I went from Tombstone to a different high school, and I remember I used to just go into the theater department, like not changing room, but like this kind of like a locker room, changing room. Not really sure what it's called. Their warm-up room where they used to lay all their bags out. So it was like candy at a candy shop. So I could just walk in and just take whatever I wanted, and everyone was doing their drama stuff. So I used to walk in there, and I used to also go. My friends and we used to walk in to the in that area, and then we would put our arm inside of the vending machine and then take everything on the very bottom of it. We used to take all the stuff on the bottom of the vending machine because we were able to reach it and pull it out. And this same friend that I used to hang out with, we used to walk into like Spencer's and Hot Topic and this other clothing store, and we used to go and shoplift, and we used to shop a lot. This was sophomore year, and she was really good at it, and I remember this one time she got caught, and that was when I stopped. I got stopped. I didn't get stopped, but I stopped. And I know that I knew at that time I didn't want to get caught. So that was when I totally like rethought the whole process. Like, is it really worth it? And yeah, I don't think I had really taken anything from that point on. That was my sophomore year. I think it might have led into my junior year though, as well, not just my sophomore year. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. My senior year, I was with my high school sweetheart, whom I had married. I remember my dad had just kicked me out. This was the very last time. This set me straight. I had just gotten kicked out or pushed out of my house through mental, I don't know, pressure, mental abuse, whatever. And I moved in with my high school sweetheart. And I remember I got like a call that my grandmother just passed away. And during this time I didn't have a lot of money. So I don't know why I decided to do this, and I don't know why it was just this, but I remember that I needed to get a few things from the store before I left. The flight was already paid for because was it a flight? Yeah, it was a flight. I had used all the money from working, because I was working after school at Pizza Hut, Italian Bistro, as a hostess, and I used all my money for that. So what it ended up doing was, because I needed a few things, it was only like one or two things. It was really nothing, but it was makeup. Like, I was all out of makeup, and I just remember, telling Travis about it, my high school sweetheart, and he was like, all right, we're gonna go in and we're gonna do this. So we went in, and I guess I talked him into it, and he didn't have a lot of money either. So this is what we ended up doing. And I told him, like, it would be super easy. Like, did I even tell him that I'd done it? I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm pretty sure I didn't, because that would be a really long story to tell someone. But anyways, we ended up getting caught. He didn't do a very good job. He looked suspicious. So we ended up getting caught, and he ended up getting handcuffed and taken out because he was under the age, and they had to drop him off to his parents at his house. So he had to be passed along to his parents, and it was humiliating for him. It was like the worst day for him, because he had to walk out in handcuffs while everyone was looking at him. And me, I just had it put on my record, so I didn't have to be handcuffed or anything like that. And I ended up like paying a fine and writing a letter and then getting it expunged, because I had never had any issues since then. So good behavior, whatever. I just had to stay out of Walmart for like 5 years, and that was fine. So I had learned my lesson. That was when I had truly learned. I had stopped for a while because my friend got caught, and I don't think anything had happened with her, but just the idea of something could have. Or that fear. And then that one time I did it, I was like, one more time, I need this stuff. I'm flying to Kansas for my grandmother's funeral. I haven't seen my family in a long time, and I wanted to kind of impress them, and it wasn't a good thing. It was totally like on emotion, and I realize now that I made a lot of mistakes, but we take certain steps so that we can grow later. Like now I can see what I did, and I hope now I'm able to speak to someone's heart, and they can get some sort of comfort, because childhood traumas, we have our own way that we deal with it, and this was my way. This was my way that I dealt with it. I had a problem with stealing. And stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. So this is what I did. And it was wrong. It was wrong. But it's just the way that I had saw the world. And I saw things differently because where I was living, from my perspective, I saw the world differently. And it's hard for anyone to understand this unless they've been there, that how hard it is to be low, to be at the very bottom, and how bad you don't want to be there, and it's out of your hands. So I just knew that I was determined, and I also knew that I could also appreciate everything that I had gotten, that I had stolen, or anything that was given to me. Like, I had appreciated it, like, because I had nothing, now I had it, I had this. And whether it was stealing or was given to me, I took care of my stuff, and I made it last for a long time. I'm trying to think what else I can say about this. So that is my rebellion, my version of seeing the world as a skinny mini Barbie doll. And I do not condone bullying, because children will start to see the world differently as well, and they will see things, they will feel things, and then they will start reacting. They will make a choice that's going to be maybe not the best, but it'll seem like it's justifiable. I don't know. I felt like I was justified doing what I did. I thought I was well within my right to do it. And obviously now it's the furthest from the truth. So, but God has helped me to see what I had done, the harm of it to the companies, and maybe, to my friend and her sister. And I think I even apologized to my other friend. And but anyways, just a little bit about me, and I hope that you guys can get something from this. Whether it's bullying is wrong, stealing is wrong, or trauma leads to extreme measures, and you don't always know what's inside someone's heart or what's going on in their mind. I do think that had someone known, had I had someone to truly talk to about this, it might have helped me. I never really had anyone that I trusted, like 100%, that I could just let everyone know, or let this person know, about what I was feeling inside. Because it's not that I was upset with God, because I didn't really know anything about God at that time, but I was just upset at my mom. I was upset at the situation. I was mad at myself. I wasn't even upset. I was mad at myself because I had said a few words that had changed the course of my childhood. And we were in a good situation, and then I had changed it. So I was kind of mad. I was mad at the world. I was mad at the people that I loved the most, and that was the way that I handled it. And just like that video that I had watched a few months back about the gentleman who was doing the he had his story written out on the cards, and we go through so much and we deal with it a certain way, and it gets hard, it gets difficult, and we're stubborn, but somewhere along the way our heart starts to soften, and then God starts to allow us to see certain things, to feel certain things, and He starts to show us things that help to start changing us. And the healing, like for me, it was the biggest point was my car accident. That was the hugest point where I knew I was being comforted. I had been saved. My son had been saved, and at that time my husband had been saved, so I was just eternally grateful. So that was like my eye opener, and God had placed some amazing people in my life throughout my whole life. But when I was younger, I took advantage of that, and I now see that these people are amazing, and they played a major role. Like I had my best friend and her family, they took care of me when my mom wasn't able to. When I was living in the mission, I remember one 4th of July, I got to stay with my best friend and spend 4th of July weekend with her, and it was the best because she took me out of the mission where we were living, and I was grateful to that. So I got to do a lot of stuff because her and her family, and so it's kind of important to think back on the people you've met, the people that have changed your life, that made it better, and you might have taken advantage of them. So I think it might be in your guys' best interest to reach out, and if you've done anything wrong, and whether no one knows about or not, to apologize, to speak up about it, and to overcome this, because this is what is hiding inside of you. This is in your heart. So this is that darkness. This is that darkness. And when you start to think about it, that's that thought that wants to come out. That's that nudge that's trying to get you to admit it. It's trying to get you to come out with it. So take that, seize that opportunity, and speak up. Call that friend, call that family member, and admit to your wrongdoings, and just plead with them. And I'm pretty sure that most of these family members and friends, they're going to forgive you. Just come with your heart open and softened, and pray right before you do it, and I'm sure it'll work out. But let all this go that's hiding inside, and this release will help you in your growth. So good luck, and rely on God to help you through it. Anyways, that was a big secret that I had been carrying for a while, and I think this is the moment that everyone's kind of finding out about how Minnie over here did something like that, and yeah. But anyways, well, I love you guys, and one last thing. Let's see. Release this. Release your troubles and start fresh. Turn that leaf over and allow for transformation. All right. Love you guys.